At the hole where he went in, Red-Eye called to Wrinkle Skin, "Hear what little Red-Eye saith. Nag, come up and dance with death. Eye to eye and head to head, keep thy measure, Nag. This shall end when one is dead. At thy pleasure, Nag. Turn for turn and twist for twist, run and hide thee, Nag. Ha! The hooded death has missed. Woe betide thee, Nag."
Greetings, I'm Rory the Mongoose, and this is the Radical Siren. Episode 2, oh geez, polls again? And a study, and still not stripper polls, Kaz. Welcome back to the Radical Siren. I'm Rory the Mongoose. First, I'd like to apologize for the audio quality in episode 1. In my own defense, it's been a really long time since I've done any multimedia editing. And honestly, it was a bit confusing at first, juggling everything plus a VTuber avatar on the screen. This episode should be a step in the right direction, however, and I will re-release episode 1 at some point. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You know the drill. I'm a small channel, and if you like my content, it really does help. Let me preface this episode, in fact my whole channel in general, with a disclaimer. I'd like to believe that I'm always learning and that I'm a permanent student of humanity, the world, and the universe. I'm always learning new things, and in my opinion, you should be like that as well. So when you do your own research, it's possible I may be wrong about something. So I welcome polite discourse in that regard. You should go back to school even if it means just reading books. Always apply critical thinking no matter where you hear, read, or witness something. Critical thinking is very important, and you may hear about this phrase in a later episode, along with other favorites like confirmation bias. Part 1, the setup. So I made the conscious decision that instead of a lengthy exploration of a number of good and bad polls that I would be deeply interested in, but would probably cause the rest of you to fall asleep and probably stab me in my sleep, I think I found a better way of presenting the information to you. I will set up a poll to illustrate the idea and explain a bit of how that would apply to a study. Then leave it up to you to think about what I've said in these 2 episodes and continue your own learning processes. Much like the scientific method, let's start out with the question. And in the interest of staying out of the realm of politics for now, I'll pick a question that we can build our poll that is fairly neutral. The question should not be leading, nor should the questionnaire that will be required. Polls themselves should have an ultimate purpose, so I'll include a purpose for my example. This poll will be part of a study on cat breeds. Obviously, it will not be a real or complete study, just an example. So let's go with black cats versus, say, tuxedos. One would not start with the question, do people prefer tuxedo cats because they think black cats are bad luck? It's not really a good question to begin with, and it's obviously a leading question because of abuse and neglect to misconceptions and using mythology as an excuse for cruelty. A lot of people want to defend black cats. The purpose of the poll is to find out which cat they prefer. A better question might be, which kind of cat do people prefer, black tabbies or tuxedo tabbies? One can also issue more polls to get reasons why people prefer one particular cat over another. This may tease out even more information that is wanted or needed. So at this point, we need to gather information that's available on people's preferences and the science involved. This can and should involve talking to pet owners, veterinarians, scientific journals dealing with cat breeds, and even how the 2 cat breeds are talked about in social media. This part is very important because one needs to know the facts about breeds. So let's use the very real example of my relationship with my black cat. He is very loving, loves to be held, and although getting on in years, he still loves to play and gets the zoomies like any other kitten. I use my own experience to illustrate the information one can get from the experience of someone who owns a black cat. Also, this is a cautionary example. Do not use your own experience in a study like this. It will lead, not might, not maybe, to very real confirmation bias. because no matter how we like to defend our furry friends, they are in the end our friends, and it's hard to be non-biased with those we love. Gathering memes and stories can be useful in that we can draw out people's general attitudes towards both breeds, but some posts on social media are only part of the story. Gathering memes and stories can be useful in that they can draw out people's general attitudes towards both breeds, but some posts on social media are only part of the story. We have to dig way deeper to get the information we really want and need if we want it to be useful and actionable. This, however, isn't all the evidence we need. This is where a bit of critical thinking is needed. This type of information is anecdotal until proven as a fact, but it's good data if we treat it correctly as part of a larger process of gathering the facts. Part 2, finding information. My hypothesis is both cat breeds are liked evenly, or at least close to evenly, and those who don't like black cats either believe that they're bad luck or have bad temperament, opposed to the belief that tuxedo cats are very friendly and lovable in comparison. So let's look at which poll to use. Remember, this isn't going to be, this is the best and one and only you should ever use in this situation. This is going to be what seems to fit the best with no mental gymnastics, in my own opinion. And that should be something you note here. Opinion. Use your heads, read, and research after this. It's okay to come up with a different answer. I change how I think often as new evidence is revealed. So narrowed down would be between benchmark polls and deliberative polls. Both would give one a wealth of information. I believe that a deliberative poll could be used in the second phase of a study to see if harmful attitudes towards black cats can be changed and to get an idea of the type of misinformation being disseminated. I believe several benchmark polls would serve our purposes here. After, of course, doing research to gather as many scientifically verifiable facts as possible. In the interest of time and my sanity, we are only going to go through one poll in this one. Just one example. Now, this is not how to word questions in a poll. Stay away from leading questions. Leading questions are questions that are structured to get the response that you want, or several leading questions to get intentional confirmation bias. Very bad indeed. An example would be, how much do you dislike mean cats? And have you heard black cats are more violent than other cats? Did you know black cats are bad luck? The last type of question can be used to sway opinions by repeatable bad information. Part 3. Let's do our study and poll. But first, let's get to know our respondents. A questionnaire should be issued before a person participates in the poll with questions such as age, education level, income, general location, religious affiliation, political affiliations, pet owner, yes or no. So let's build the first poll, shall we? Let's keep it simple. Do you believe some cats are inherently more violent than others? Do you believe cats are inherently more friendly? Do you believe that breed has no real effect on aggression? I have no opinion. I am not a cat owner. Remember that even if you believe one way or another, our goal should be to get a real idea of the general opinion that society has towards black and tuxedo cats. We should distribute this first and following polls to as large a group as we can, including different demographic groups, geographic locations, education, and even political beliefs. This list can be large, and in itself, we can get valuable data on how each group believes on average. As the study goes on, this type of data can be collected and used too. For example, learn which groups have a problem with misinformation. If religious people believe black cats are bad luck, can we begin to learn why? Who told them that? If not a person, where and why did their opinion end up like this? So your demographically diverse group has done its first poll. Now, for the sake of time and sanity, keeping this relatively simple, in the first poll, 40 people answered the poll. And probably the group asked is split evenly between all 4 questions. This would tell us the opinions are split 4 ways. Not super useful, but we have our first numbers. The sample size here isn't reflective of what one would need, but questions like these would be a good example of those needed to begin teasing out the information that is desired. Part 4. Bring the receipts. Now that we've done our polls and we have a mountain of data, that data needs to be sorted and interpreted. As one does the polls, one would be best served to issue several instances of each poll. This way the results can be tested to see if it's repeatable within a decent margin of error. I'll note that the margin of error in this case is up to you, but the less margin there is, the better. Although a 6 sigma might be a bit difficult and way overkill at this level without years of polling and research and review. Which does bring me to one last step that would be the ultimate goal: to have your results peer reviewed so that one knows that your work is accurate and repeatable. Amazing how much this has in common with the scientific method. And this is because polls and studies should be done with an eye towards scientific accuracy first. Although my example here is overly simplistic, it gives you an idea of how all this could be done in an acceptable way. Part 5, the conclusion. We looked at a simple example of how a poll and study can be done, how to collect accurate information without intentional confirmation bias. Remember, you can love black cats and still collect unbiased information. One has to remember to be impartial, so no leading questions, have a large sample size, and a wide selection of demographics. And when we next visit the subject, we can look how it can go wrong, and the worst case, how polls can be used for nefarious purposes. But I think we may leave this subject for a bit and move on to some other lighter or funnier subjects. The end. You are welcome to come into the community Discord. If you're an intolerant turd, however, we will just kick you, ban you, and erase you. You will not own anyone. You won't be winning. You'll just be gone. The information for Discord will be in the description. So remember, whether or not you're one of my sweet sirens or not, take a second today and spread a bit of kindness. Maybe some love, maybe some hugs. Until next time, I've been Rory the Mongoose, and this has been the Radical Siren. See ya!